Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. We are working on paper 1 of 1123. That is our reading paper. Paper 1, that is our reading paper. And this paper has 50 marks. Right now we are working on first part, that is comprehension and use of language. Comprehension and use of language. We have completed first part, that is comprehension task. That first part is known as question number 1 of paper 1. This is question number 1. That question number 1 is comprehension task and it has 16 marks. Today we are going to talk about question number 2, that is use of language task, and this question has 9 marks. So that makes it 16 plus 9, 25 marks. Today we are going to talk about these 9 marks, and remember, these 9 marks, they are totally, or this use of language task, it is totally different from the first one, that was comprehension task. When you are doing it, you just have to analyze the use of language. If the writer is using a certain word, what's the purpose of that writer? Why is he using that word, and what is the kind of effect that he wants to achieve by using this word? And if for these 9 marks, we just have one for these 9 marks, we just have one assessment objective, and that is very important that you know that what is your AO, what is your assessment objective. Because if you are aware of your assessment objective while writing your answers, while attempting your paper, you will just try to think, you will keep this in your mind that your examiner is going to check you for this thing. So I have to keep this in my mind while attempting these questions or attempting my paper. So for these 9 marks, use of language, our assessment objective is R4. And what is R4? Demonstrate understanding of how writers achieve effects. Here we have word effect, and this is noun. When we have this word with a effect, this is verb. So basically we want to show that we understand how the writer is using that language, and then how is he influencing the readers, how is he affecting the readers. So use of certain words, use of certain phrases, use of certain lines in a sentence, what is the main aim or goal of the writer by using certain words. So basically we have to show that we understand the writer's effect, and we understand that how the readers are being influenced by the writer by the choice of his word. So you must be very clear for that. For getting these 9 marks, you need to understand how you are going to attempt this use of language task. Now let's start with the first one. First thing, definitely it is very clear to everyone that once you are going to read that text that you have, you need to read that closely. Read that closely and try to understand, try to comprehend, try to get the main idea, try to understand the story. That is the first and most, I must say, basic thing that you should do while attempting this question, or question number 1 and question number 2 both. So we are talking about text A. You have to read the text closely, you have to understand the text, then you have to read the questions. We are talking about these questions. In this we have 5 questions in use of language task. These 5 questions are A to E, and they just check your understanding of writer's effect. Now when we say that how, second thing is that read the questions and followed task instructions carefully. We did this while we were doing comprehension task also. These are a few things that they are same. Whether you are doing question number 1 or question number 2, you have to read the text carefully, you have to understand, you have to read the instructions carefully. Then you have to focus the most important. There it was that you need to focus that whether that question demands implicit understanding or explicit understanding. Here you need to focus the most important words in the question and given lines, why, what kind of effect those words are just conveying, or they are what kind of effect they are giving. Then we have given space only. That is another thing that I've told you, that use the designated space for answers only. There's no need to write a lot. Do not write more than what is required. That is the same thing. Do not treat these questions as comprehension task, rather than look for effect of the language. First thing is, for these 9 marks, be very clear that this is not comprehension task. They are not asking for what, why, how does, or feeling, or any such thing. They are asking for the effect of language. And what is that? Let's see. That is, go beyond the narrative and literal details. Narrative, that means that why a certain character was doing this thing, how does he do that, what did he do, what was the purpose. These are known as narrative or literal details. So while doing use of language tasks, you need to consider suggestions and connotations of words and images. If there is a specific word, you need to understand connotation means the kind of a story behind that text. What is the word trying to suggest? That was, we have discussed this example in class also. Like if the writer is using the word pause instead of stop, so what kind of effect the writer is trying to achieve? Basically, by using the word pause instead of stop, the writer is trying to achieve the effect that anything that was in process, it is going to resume, it is going to start again. So this word, if he had used the word stop, that would have meant that the things are done, that is the end. But by using the word pause, the writer achieves this effect that the process is still there and the things will resume or start again. This is the use of certain words. Then see, repeating or paraphrasing the words from specified extract is insufficient for an explanation of how language works. This is also very important, that while answering for these nine marks, you do not repeat words given in those lines. Do not paraphrase them. Like, you do not just try to write that in your own words, or you just to write them in simple words. That is not enough. The demand of these 5 questions is different, and the requirement is different, not the same as we have in comprehension task. Then no credit is given to identifying language terminology such as metaphor or personification. Sometimes students, they just understand that the writer is using a simile, the writer is using a metaphor, or the writer is using this figurative language, personification or oxymoron or something like that. But it is not about identifying the language terminology. It is about that if a writer is using a metaphor, what is he trying to achieve by using that metaphor? That is the thing important. So if you identify a metaphor, this is not enough that you are writing using a metaphor here. You need to write that writer is using a metaphor here to achieve the effect that he wants this from this metaphor. So explanation is required, not just the identification. Then the real skill lies in explaining how these features are effective. I hope you got it. Do not treat these questions as comprehension tasks, rather than look for the effect of the language. We have discussed this earlier. Candidates need to recognize that question number 2 is testing understanding of understanding of use of language, that is the effect of vocabulary, an image, or a structural feature. Sub questions might ask for an effect, an impression, or what is being suggested. In all these questions, they will like what is the writer trying to suggest, what is the effect of these words, or write about two impressions. This is or what is the writer trying to suggest. All these questions, all these 5 questions, they are about these things. Then we have candidates should consider the associations, connotations, pictures, feelings created by individual words or an image. When you are writing them association, if the word rose has been used here, if the word rose is used in the text, so rose is a kind of, it is a sign, a symbol of love. If it has been used there, you can understand that something that is related to love is being discussed here. If that is connotation, connotation means the story or the idea behind the word. So if you have to answer this use of language task, you need to understand the associations or connotation. We will discuss this. I have an exercise for you here. You will understand it better after doing those two or three exercises. Pictures, feelings created by individual words or an image. When two ideas or impressions are required for maximum marks, candidates should recognize the correlation between the number of marks available and the number of ideas required. We have discussed this thing in comprehension task as well, and we are doing it right here also, that if you see that there is a question, write two impressions, and this question has 2 marks, 2 impressions, 2 marks. So when you are writing your answer, you should be clear that I have to come up with 2 different impressions, then I'll get 2 marks. If I just write or copy anything from the text, or if I just write one impression, definitely I'm going to get 1 mark for that. So you need to understand the relation or correlation between number of marks available and the number of ideas that you are coming up with. Okay, here is before going towards use of language task, those 5 questions, I thought that we should do some kind of brainstorming that will help you understand that if you have these kinds of, or this kind of question in your paper, how you are going to look for meanings or effect of language. Let's have a look at this. The first example, she glanced up briefly, giving him a thin smile before quickly returning to her book. There are a few words in this line that are giving a kind of a meaning. If I say she glanced up briefly, this word briefly, that means for a very short period of time. Then a thin smile, the word thin is also telling us something. Then quickly returning to her book. These words, briefly, thin, and quickly, they are telling us something. They are telling us a story, and we need to understand that story. If we have to write that what is the writer trying to suggest in this line. Now let's have a look at this again. If we have a question that what is the writer trying to suggest in this line, she glanced up briefly, giving him a thin smile before quickly returning to her book. After reading this line, it is evident and it is very clear that she is just avoiding that person. She doesn't want to, or the kind of thin smiles that she is giving, and then again quickly returning to her work, that means she is not interested. She doesn't want to see that person, she doesn't want to meet that person, or she is basically, it is a kind of a board that I'm not interested. She is indifferent. So these words, they are just telling us a story. Now look at the second one. The back garden was a jungle of weeds. Formerly, it had been her father's pride and joy. The back garden was a jungle of weeds. Now the word formerly is telling us a story. Formerly, it had been her father's pride and joy. This word formerly shows that whether the something bad has happened. This word formerly shows that in this sentence that something bad has happened. Either this garden or this back the back garden, yes, this back garden is not being taken care of by someone. Father is not there, or father is unable to take care of the garden, or something. There is maybe there are such events that this back garden is not being looked after by anyone. So this word formally is telling us a story. Now let's have a look at the third one. Her heart sank as she scanned the kitchen and noticed the unwashed plates and dirty floor. Oh my god. So what's the story here? Her heart sank. This word sank is giving us a story. She scanned the kitchen and noticed the unwashed plates and dirty kitchen. What is the last word? Dirty floor. Yes. Sank, unwashed. These two words, they are giving us, or they are just telling us a complete story. Her heart sank. It tells us that in any possible way she is not ready to do that work. She doesn't want to wash the dishes at that time. She might be a working woman. She is back after her job, and when she just had a look at her kitchen, it was in a dirty, or it was in a bad state. So now she has to, or she had to wash those plates, and from this word her heart sank, it tells us that she is not in a mood to do that. Or there's a simple story that her maid didn't turn up that day. So maid didn't turn up, maid didn't come, and now she has to clean that kitchen by herself, but she is, by any means, she is not in a mood to do that. So these words are telling us a story. Next one now, 4. The concrete tower blocks surrounded the word desolate yard, blocking out the sun completely. Now, this word desolate and this word tower blocks surrounded the desolate yard, okay, blocking out the sun completely. So that means that this part of the yard doesn't get sun, or it is completely dark there. Most of the time it's dark there. This is not that interesting, but okay. So most of the time it is in the dark. Next one is number 5E. Despite his obvious talent and the fact that the fans adore him, he has yet to prove that he can cope with the word cope, with the intense pressure of the world stage. Despite his obvious talent and the fact that the fans adore him, he has yet to prove that he can cope with the pressure. That means that he is a this word cope is telling us a story that he is unable to deal with sorry, or he is unable to handle people. So he needs more time to get matured, or he is an amateur, he is a young artist, and still he needs some time to be able to handle people. So this is simple. Next one is the last one. Seeing her former friend slip repeatedly on the ice with absolutely no sense of dignity or decorum secretly filled her with glee. This is interesting. Seeing her former friend slip repeatedly on the ice with absolutely no sense of dignity or decorum secretly filled her with glee. Glee means happiness. So this sentence is showing us that there are two people. One is there and a former friend. It can be now we don't know the genders here, but it can be someone seeing her former friend. Let's use the word friend. So when she seeing her former friend. Yes. So when she saw that specific that person who was just slipping on the ice, and it was in a kind of a clumsy state, so she was inside her heart, she was happy that he is being ridiculed by the people. So basically she was enjoying the misery of that person. This can be some kind of you can say jealousy factor is also there, that if a person who had been her friend now is with someone else, and she is enjoying that he or she or that person is being ridiculed in front of everyone, and she is not showing that in front of everyone, but inside there she is happy. So this is the way, when you have this use of language task, you need to understand words and then make up a kind of a story, or just you need to go back or go behind, or behind the scene you must say, or go beyond that whole sentence, or beyond the connotations or associations, so you can understand the whole story. So the words or the phrases that writers use, basically they are telling a story through those words. So I hope this exercise will help you understand better, because mostly students, they find use of language task the most difficult one. I hope this will help you. Now I have another exercise for you. When we are done with this, then we'll get back to the paper or those 5 questions. I just want you to stop these things here. Now here, maybe you can come up with a different explanation, different suggestion, different effect for the words. So you must try these, you will enjoy. Another one, the effect of the words. Here we have, the boy devoured the food placed in front of him. Now, this word devoured is telling a story. You can simply say the boy, no, the writer could have said he quickly ate the food. But devoured creates a much dramatic image and gives the reader the sense that the boy is desperately hungry. The boy is starving. That's why he just ate that food, devoured that food, or ate all of it quickly. Just by choosing this single word, the writer adds information to the sentence. So that is the use of the words that the writer is with the help of this word, the writer is trying to influence the reader. Then another one, the boat had no hope when faced with the gigantic waves generated by the horrific storm. So the adjective gigantic and horrific add drama to the sentence. And this is the way you are going to do in use of language task. To the sentence in a way that the words big or bad would not have done. If you simply say that where is that, the boat had no hope when faced with big waves, then big cannot convey the kind of a meaning the word gigantic is conveying. So this is the use of words that definitely changes the meaning, and it influences the readers in a very different way. So in a way that the word big and okay, another sentence, she flounced dramatically off the stage. The word is the word dramatically, and for me there's another word that is flounced. So when we just have a look at this word dramatically, here the adverb dramatically gives the reader the sense that she is exaggerating her behavior to get a reaction. So it tells us something about the character's personality. So they have just written here about the word dramatically, but for me the word flounced is also delivering a kind of a message. Please do check this word flounced, that what is its meaning. When you will check the meaning of this word, you will see that flounced is a kind of a movement in which somebody walks with an exaggerated behavior, like you are moving your shoulders, you kind of a jerky and bouncy motion. When you walk like that, that means you are you are throwing tantrums basically. So it is a kind of a walk in which a, the person who is flouncing is jerking his or her shoulders and just moving in a way that he is trying to attain or get the attention of other people. So word flounce is also one such word that creates a picture in the mind of the reader. So when you use this word, basically you are trying to achieve a certain effect, you are trying to convey a certain message regarding or about the character that you have in that text or in that story. So all these words, they are conveying a message. We have the last exercise, and I'll complete this, and then after that we are going to do that exercise. Okay, then that what was the comprehension task, and we have done that, and then use of language after this in the second video. Okay, look at the example of how verb changes and adds depth to a character description. When you simply use the word, the elderly man walked down the street. The word walk is very simple. We know that somebody is walking. The elderly man shuffled down the street. When you are shuffling, basically you are moving in such a motion that you are sliding sideways, or you are just going in a to move about sliding. Then the elderly man ambled down the street. Ambling is basically a kind of a walk in which you are just strolling down somewhere and to go at an easy gait without any tension, without any stress. When you are walking, that this word is ambling. The elderly man strolled down the street to go in search of work. So you can just check the meanings of all these words. They are all movements, they are all walkings, they are all a kind of a walk. Shuffle, amble, strolled, and do check that this is amble or this is amble. Okay, check this also, pronunciation. Strolled, stumbled, and then okay, stumble, I think you know this word. The elderly man stumbled down the street. Stumble is a kind of an unsteady walk. When you are walking in an unsteady way, unsteadily, that you are stumbling. The elderly man strode down the street. Strode basically is a kind of a long step. When a person walks by taking long steps, that is striding basically. The elderly man sauntered down the street. Sauntering is also a kind of an idle walk. So all these words, just the use of word is totally changing the character that is behind that word. Like if you are stumbling, so by reading the word stumble, we will try to tell ourselves that there is a kind of a, whether that man is drunk or that specific person is maybe he's not fine, sick, can't walk properly, or there's a problem with his legs, anything. But these words, they, or if somebody is sauntering, that means that they are in a dreamy mood, maybe they have nothing to do, they are just idle, they are just enjoying their walk. So all these words, they convey different meanings, and this is the thing that you are going to do in use of language task. Then we have the last one here. As she entered the room, the musky fragrance of her perfume filled the air. The musky fragrance. As she entered the room, now all these were delightful. I'll go for another. Okay. As she entered the room, the cheap fragrance. When we have the word musky or when we have the word delightful, we get a kind of a positive feelings about that character. When we have this word cheap here, this give a kind of a negative vibe regarding that character. Then we have, as she entered the room, the sickly fragrance, again negative vibes. As she entered the room, the revolting, again negative. All these words, when we use them, they just give a kind of negative feeling about these characters. But musky, delightful, and as she entered the room, the floral, this is again positive. As she entered the room, the powerful, again that shows that she is a kind of a commanding personality. As she entered the room, the familiar, that means the everybody around or the people present there, they know that who she is. So all these words, this choice of words, it changes the meaning and it introduces the character in a different manner. So that's all for now, and in the second video I'm going to discuss questions A to E, use of language task. Stay tuned, watch all the videos and get ready for your papers. Allah Hafiz, goodbye.